What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. So, Cuba's next. Donald Trump is going after Cuba. Cuba is in shambles. Cuba's is in an insane, unbelievable crisis right now. Thanks to Donald Trump. Because the Republicans have always been trying to destroy Cuba. Cuba has been in an embargo for multiple decades due to America's interference with their government and with their people. See, when you look at countries like Cuba and Haiti, and you wonder why they have not developed or why they're in the situation that they find themselves in, or if you look at other countries, maybe the ones in Africa, and you look at why they're in the situation that they are in, it's because a bigger power is doing something to them. A bigger power is using economic sanctions against them in order to slow them from development. Now, Cuba and Haiti are a special case. Cuba and Haiti are both, first of all, Cuba is one of the most pro-black, pan-African, Latin islands there is in the Caribbean. All right? Fidel Castro actually helped South Africans fight against apartheid and help them fight war, like put boots on the ground to help Africans fight against colonization. All right? Cuba, they were about that life. Right? Now, the people in Cuba, right, the black and the European and the native Indians, those people are in opposition with the Cubans that's in America. Those white European Cubans who got kicked out by Fidel Castro, because before Fidel Castro was there, it was a haven for white supremacy. Okay, it was a haven for white supremacy. Now, when Fidel Castro adopted socialism, right? Now, just like every other country that tried to utilize socialism as a governmental form, capitalism, i.e. America, purposely destroyed it. That way, white people can say, look, socialism doesn't work. Look at every socialist country. It's because capitalism, because it's the worship of money, right, decided it was going to destroy every Latin American country that dared to try to utilize socialism as a governmental structure, because were they to be successful, it would prove that capitalism is not the only choice. Okay, you need to understand that. Now, so when you hear people like Tariq Nasheed and FBA talk shit about Haitians, right, understand that they're speaking from a white supremacist point of view, because only an idiot who does not know that America is the reason why Haiti and Cuba are in the situation that they are in, only an idiot who doesn't know that would talk shit about the Haitians or the Cubans. All right, but both of them in the situation, because first Haiti defeated the greatest army Western Hemisphere ever had, Napoleon's army, right? Completely embarrassing Europe and all white folks. So they're still paying for that economically. Cuba, same thing, defied U.S. government, defied all the criminal Italian gangs and Sicilian gangs that would sit down there to destroy them, right? And also embarrassed the United States military when they tried to do some clandestine black ops shit. Once upon a time, it's called the Bay of Pigs, right? So what you got to understand is, because Cubans, right, the ones that's in America, voted for Donald Trump thinking that he was on their side, right? Because they did that, now their country is about to be destroyed and taken over. Oh, and before it gets destroyed and taken over, keep on all these white Cubans, Europeans, all right, Europeans who speak Spanish. They are the colonizers of Cuba, the ones that went to Florida, the racist piece of shit Latinos that get all the preferential treatment, while the rest of the Latinos get treated like pariahs of the community, even though Latinos are nothing but Native Americans who were convinced and convinced that they were not Native Americans and they really want to be white, right? While practicing black culture. It's really fucked up down there in the Latino community, right? But the Cubans, right, who are now, they are starving. They don't have water. They don't have fuel. They're being starved. All right. This is a blockade. All right. They're being, what do you call it? You know how in the Middle Ages, you see those movies where the army would like wrap around a fortress and starve them out? Like that was the tactic of war back in the day. That's what we're doing now. All right. We're starving Cuba out. Where did it start? Venezuela. Because why? Because Venezuela was their #1 oil export. So what we did was we bullied Venezuela, stole the leader, right? He's in some jail somewhere, right? Didn't change the regime. We just stole the goddamn president, stole all their oil, and threatened everybody else. Threatened every Latin country that gives Cuba resources and says, if you give them this, we're gonna do this to you. So I want you to pay attention to history. When you black people, when y'all think about Africans and how we got over here as Americans and how white Europeans operate, their mode of operation, you need to just pay attention to what's happening right now. Pay attention to the fact that when white people in power and they have the overwhelming military might, they will force other countries to sit there and do nothing under threat of sanctions, under threat of military action. You got to understand how powerful a sanction is. A sanction stops other countries from doing business with your economy. Cuba is an island. It needs imports. So America knows all we have to do is stop shit from coming in there and we can crush them without sending the military in. And once the riots start, once the people flip out, right, and that they hoping that the people attack the government. Because most people don't know nothing about sanction or the implications of international politics, with their local politics. They just know they can't eat, they ain't got no fuel, they can't do nothing, and it's the government's fault, right? So they're hoping chaos, death and destruction, right, and purges happen in Cuba so they can just roll on in. This is this is scorched earth policies by Europeans. This is their last gasp. This is a white supremacist neo-Nazi administration, and he's doing everything white supremacists has been wanting to do because this is the last, and they know this is the last time and they're ever going to be able to get somebody in the office like Donald Trump. This is the last time for all those white people that we don't know, that are millionaires and billionaires, that are part of the legacy families that have been trying to destroy every so-called American enemy, which is just white people enemy, because I'm an American and none of these people are my enemy. Russia's not my enemy. China's not my enemy. Iran's not my enemy. Cuba's not my enemy. Haitian's not my enemy, right? But for white folks, it's their enemy, especially white Americans, all right? So everybody look out. Cuba, hey, look, and here's the thing about them Cubans, them white European Cubans who voted for Donald Trump 1, 2, and 3 times. Their white asses are getting deported back to Cuba. Well, now they have to suffer because of their vote. They're going to have to participate in the shit that they started. And I'm glad. Take your ass back to Cuba, right? And suffer and deal with the shit that you voted for. Anyway, y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment sections. Afro Think Tank, learn some, teach some. I'm out.
America's next target is Cuba, and it's very important that we all pay attention to what is happening right now. Cuba has been under U.S. embargo for decades, but right now the United States has applied even more pressure on Cuba, pushing the country into an absolute crisis. A U.S. blockade is causing a severe energy crisis in Cuba as the government has been forced to ration fuel and cut electricity for many hours a day, paralyzing life in the communist-ruled island nation of 11 million. So the 2 countries that Cuba gets most of their oil from is Mexico and Venezuela. Venezuela is Cuba's closest ally in the region. And so last month, when the United States kidnapped Maduro, the Venezuelan president, they also started to apply massive pressure on Venezuela to stop all oil shipments to Cuba. To suffocate Cuba even more, Donald Trump is to impose tariffs on countries that sell oil to Cuba. Mexico, which is the second country that Cuba gets most of their oil from, has decided to temporarily pause oil shipments to Cuba, mainly out of fear of retaliation from the United States. The United States is suffocating the Cuban population, not just through economic crisis, but a humanitarian one. They are causing a man-made famine, which is why Mexico has to send humanitarian aid to Cuba. According to a study by the Lancet Global Health, they found that 500,000 people die every year around the world due to economic sanctions because people don't have the accessibility to food, to fuel, to medicine, like basic necessities to survive. It is an international crime to impose sanctions, blockades, and embargoes on countries. The United States believes that if they sanction countries, people will magically rise up and have regime change, which is exactly what the United States wants. But over and over, we see that it does not work. All this does is it harms the people that live there. The United States is responsible for millions of deaths all around the world, and there is no accountability. This is unchecked power to the max. This is a quote by Francisco Rodriguez. We have seen economic sanctions, especially those imposed by the US, contribute substantially to economic collapse in targeted countries such as Venezuela. Sanctions often fail to achieve their stated objectives and instead only punish the civilian population of the targeted countries. It is well past time that the US, EU, and other powerful actors in the international community seriously reconsider this cruel and often counterproductive mechanism. It is our responsibility as Americans to demand that our country lift the sanctions that it has imposed on countries all around the world. If we truly want people to be free, that is step one. That is the biggest gift we can give to people who are suffering under US sanctions, blockades, and embargoes.
Last night I posed the question, what's happening in Cuba? I did 1 hour of investigating. Let's see what my mind and observations have come up with in 1 hour of learning. We all know the history of Cuba. 1959, they had the revolution. They call it the revolution. We got Fidel Castro. I feel like most people know that the United States has had embargoes on Cuba that entire time. We didn't want to do trade. We wanted to punish them. And if you ask yourself, why is that? That's pretty simple. Cuba is 90 miles from the United States, and they're best buddies, best pals with Russia and China, and we never liked Russia and China. Those are the bad guys. I mean, that's how it all sums up, correct? So for 60 years, the United States has financially been punishing Cuba because they're best pals with the guys that we don't like, right? But recently, we now see Cuba's in real bad shape. And that's the part I've been more confused with. What is going on currently? Because they're not doing good. In January, February, and March of this year, things have really changed for them. Because we went over there and took Maduro from Venezuela, and so they stopped getting resources. That all stopped. And Venezuela there was a lot going on between Cuba and Venezuela. Mexico, it's all stopped. And so now Cuba is running out of everything. They depend on trade almost 100%. Almost. It's all stopped. And so they're having huge blackouts. They don't have any, they're running out of oil. They're running out of everything. And so now they're having huge blackouts. Most people are living 20 hours a day without power. The food, it's just dwindling. If you want to put it in another term, Trump is almost single-handedly is strangling the country. Trump is strangling the country. And he's doing it for a reason, because they have terrible people in control, a dictatorship, and he doesn't want them in power anymore. Now, I watched a whole bunch of videos, a handful of videos of people from Cuba or had lived in Cuba and their family is still there, and they all support it. Every video I watched, the people are supporting it. They want these people taken out of power. And Trump almost has them in a position where they're going. Cuba is falling. Some people say it's already fallen. And some people say it's a week, 2 weeks away from falling. And so when I watch the people in line with the cards, the food ration cards, that's what's happening. And some of the people I watched in the United States who said that they lived in Cuba, they're from there, and they still have family there, even though they know their loved ones right now are having to go through this, it's worth it because they want these people out of power. So in office, Trump, I can't believe the productivity of this guy. He goes over to Venezuela, takes that dictator out of power, heads on over to Iran, gets rid of the Ayatollah. Now he's going to go at Cuba. I mean, how many dictators are going to be taken out under the Trump administration? Unreal. Unreal. So that's what I learned about Cuba.
The US confirming that after Iran, it's going after Cuba. Cuba's going to fall pretty soon, President Trump told CNN. They want to make a deal so badly. So how's it going to work? Well, he says, I'm going to put Marco Rubio over there, and we'll see how that works out. We're really focused on this one right now. We've got plenty of time, but Cuba's ready after 50 years, President Trump said. And it's fallen right into my lap because of me. So the day before, Trump said at the White House that it's only a question of time before American Cubans can return to their home country. appearing to say that it is next on the administration's agenda after going to war in Iran. We could do them all at the same time, President Trump said, but bad things happen. If you watch countries over the years, you do them all too fast and bad things happen. So there's a process here. According to the president, he'll deal with Iran, then he's going to move on to Cuba, which currently is suffering after it's lost support of Venezuela after the US took.
Why does Donald Trump want to break Cuba? There will be no more oil or money going to Cuba. Zero. It's partly about timing.
Conditions continue to worsen in Cuba as the U.S. cuts off critical supplies to the communist regime there.
But it might also be deeply personal.
Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men.
Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation.
Timing-wise, Cuba has almost never been weaker. It's literally in the dark, chronic blackouts, because to generate electricity, Cuba needs oil, but it can't get enough oil because the U.S. is blocking its two main sources of oil, Venezuela.
President Trump says the U.S. carried out large-scale strikes on Venezuela overnight.
They lived off Venezuelan money and oil, and none of that's coming now.
And Mexico. The U.S. has put immense pressure on both countries to choke Cuba's energy supply.
The Cuban government is really in a difficult position right now. It is in the midst of a humanitarian crisis.
But also, look who's advising Trump on foreign policy.
Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Well, I mean, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously.
Trump's Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is the son of Cuban immigrants. And for those who feel like they've lost a great deal in Castro's socialist revolution in the 1960s, their literal homes in many cases, punishing the regime is personal.
Yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned.
He made his political career based on hostility toward the Cuban government. And so, in some ways, the policy of hostility towards Cuba is very much his personal policy.
But finally, consider how this might be personal for Donald Trump, too.
13 U.S. presidents have come and gone, and the Castro regime remains in power.
Cuba's communist existence has been a real knot of tension for the U.S. for the better part of a century. If Donald Trump were to undo that knot,
finally bringing down a communist regime that's been 90 miles off the coast of the U.S. would be a huge feather in the cap of Donald Trump.
Being able to say that I am the U.S. president who did the thing that no other U.S. president since 1959 was able to do, which was end the Cuban Revolution and the Cuban communist government.
What a crowning achievement that would be.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.